Hello, and welcome to another edition of No Lights Paranormal, where three nerdy paranormal investigators sit down and discuss spooky stories from the web. My name is Joe. I am the lead investigator.
My name is Teresa, and I am your researcher.
And my name is Alex, the Baba Yaga enthusiast and equipment setter-upper.
Yay!
Not downgraded this week. All right. Nice.
No, I had my head on straight this week. Good.
So happy New Year, guys and gals. It is officially January 4th, 2025.
Yeah.
First podcast of the year.
I blinked and 2024 left.
You know what? In with the old, out with the old. I don't know. We'll see what happens this year. It could be just as shitty as the last one.
What? Nah, it won't be.
So there was a meme going around the interwebs, right?
Yeah.
The first, second, and third was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is WTF.
Yeah.
That makes sense
Is that
to
like
me.
a taste of things to come?
That makes sense to me.
The hell?
Is that a precursor for 2025?
And did you know, it is actually an Irish tradition where you are supposed to, shortly after midnight, obviously the clock strikes 12, and then you are supposed to first open up the back door to let everything that existed in that year leave, and then you go to the front door and let the new year and all of its possibilities and hope and dreams and happiness come in. That's where that phrase came with.
It was like 9 degrees that night. So
It was also really cold. We didn't do that.
yeah. No, we did do I don't know what tradition it is, the pork and sauerkraut at midnight.
I don't actually know what tradition that is either.
Maybe Polish? I'm not
I
sure.
think it is like Slovak, because I remember like my sister and my stepmom and that half the family were really into that. I don't like sauerkraut. I think sauerkraut is disgusting.
You mix it in with a little bit of brown sugar. It's really, really good. Sorry, that's my cooking habit.
It's all for you, bro.
German. It is German.
German? It's all for you, bro.
And the loosely translated saying that is supposed to go with that is, I wish you as much wealth as the number of shreds of cabbage in your sauerkraut.
Yeah, we
Well,
didn't do that.
that's why I'm poor.
We just ate it, and I went a little bit of Asian culture and mixed soy sauce in with it. So it's delicious.
So let's talk about a few of the things that are getting ready to happen for the month of January. I have stuck with Ohio here. Starting off, we're going to cover, it looks like the Civil War Camp Cleveland and Cleveland Ghost Stories is coming back around for another fun-filled little adventure. They're going to be all over the place. So they're starting out at the Brecksville, Ohio Branch Library on January 7th, which is a Tuesday from 7 to 8. And then they will be going to, let's see here, the Parma Powers Branch Library in Parma, Wednesday, January 15th from 7 to 8 p.m. Then they will be, let's see here. Oh, God, I lost my... the Solon Branch Library on Wednesday, January 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. January 29th at the Beechwood Branch Library in Beechwood, Ohio. That's a Wednesday, 7 to 8 p.m. again. Let's see here. There is a private ghost hunt being held of the Grafton, Ohio Elementary School at 1111 Elm Street in Grafton. This one's hosted by the Tri-C Ghost Hunters. That's January 25th overnight to January 26th, so a Saturday and a Sunday. There is a paranormal investigation at the Miamisburg Masonic Temple in Miamisburg, Ohio, overnight Saturday, January 25th into Sunday the 26th. Let's see here. Ohio State Reformatory is having their very fun-looking event. Sorry, sick. January 18th, which is my son's birthday, starts at 2 p.m. and it ends at 1 a.m. on Saturday, January 18th into Sunday. And that one, tickets are still available, and they do get a little bit pricey because some of our favorite ghost hunters are going to be there, including Kristen Williams, Dustin Perry, and Steve Gonzalez.
Damn it.
Someone died.
So that one should be pretty fun. But that's all I'm going to cover for news this week because we've got stories. Let's dive right into them.
Apparently, let the dogs want to get on it too.
Yeah, you know.
you said you wanted to go first, right, Alex? Did I read that text message correct?
I can certainly go first. So this week we have elected to go right back into actual, like, just spooky haunted stuff. Yeah.
Ghosty stories.
Bring in the New Year's with ghost stories instead of our random speaking. So,
Without further ado.
So in true fashion, with what I and Joe kind of been doing lately, is one of the latest listeners that I noticed that we picked up on the site was somebody from Switzerland. All right, just one random person downloaded an episode from Switzerland, and I'm like, cool. Sounds like I'll pick somewhere in Switzerland.
Yeah, I gotta say that's pretty cool, actually.
I like to give them a kick out and a call out, right?
It typically happens sometimes. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
a listener, and all of a sudden it's like, boom. It's like, oh, now I know where I can talk about it.
Listen, it just gives me a general direction to go, right? And that's helpful. I don't really like being narrowed into things, but I do like general directions. Nevertheless, so I found this place in Switzerland, and lore and legend wise and paranormal activity wise, it is like our own version of like an Indigo Lake. It's got a little bit of everything there, right? It's kind of crazy. Visually,
yes.
I posted a picture on the No Lights Paranormal Facebook page, so if you want to go check it out, feel free. Visually, it looks like Switzerland's version of the Grand Canyon. It is like 200-foot limestone walls on both sides. Limestone, go figure.
Right. Big key.
And carved out by a glacier. So like it's
oh, so it's got all the works in there. Okay.
All the works.
All right.
So nestled in the Bernese Oberland region of Switzerland. By the way, I will pronounce the actual place's name correctly. I cannot make promises on all of the other places that may or may not be listed in here.
I think we're well versed in the ineptitude of our pronunciation.
Switzerland's a weird place in the fact where like half of the words it looked like they were trying to be German and half the words looked like they were trying to be French. Right. So like when it comes to pronunciation, that just makes shit complicated. Okay? So nestled in the Bernese Oberland region of the Switzerland lies a natural marvel that feels like something out of a fairy tale or perhaps a ghost story. The Ar or Ar Gorge is a breathtaking canyon carved by the Ar River over thousands of years. Imagine towering limestone walls rising dramatically on either side, a narrow path winding through the chasm, and ever-present sound of rushing water echoing through the air. The gorge is undeniably beautiful and holds more than just geological wonder. It's a place that's steeped in mystery. The origins of the gorge go back 10,000 years to the end of the Ice Age when melting glaciers unleashed torrents of water.
The squirrel.
The powerful force carved a deep, narrow passage through the limestone, creating the gorge that we marvel at today. Though barely 2 kilometers in length, its towering cliffs, some as high as 200 meters, create an awe-inspiring sight. In certain places, the gorge is less than a meter wide, and other places it's like 90 feet wide.
Okay.
Making it feel like nature itself is closing in. For centuries, the Ar Gorge remained an enigma, its waters deemed too treacherous to cross. Boats were the only way through until the late 19th century when locals dared to open the gorge to visitors. In 1889, wooden pathways were built that were clinging to the limestone walls precariously, finally allowing people to walk above the swirling waters below. As for the legend of the gorge itself, the Ar is not just a geological wonder, it's a place of stories. Some wondrous, others eerie. Over the years, visitors have reported strange occurrences as they traverse the narrow walkways, whispers carried by the wind, shadow figures glimpsed out of the corner of the eye, and the unsettling sensation of being watched. Local legend offers an explanation, as these restless spirits are those who lost their lives in the river's perilous waters. Let's see here. So yeah, local legend offers an explanation. These are restless spirits of those who lost their lives in the river's perilous water. It's no wonder that some have likened the gorge to Acheron, the fabled river of death from Dante's Inferno.
Ooh, look.
Now, Interestingly enough, something I found later on in my research, the gorge also has supposedly a mythical guardian. The gorge is also home to a more tangible legend, the Tatzelwurm. This mythical half-dragon, half-serpent is said to dwell beneath the gorge's waters. Avoiding the spotlight of dragonhood, no fiery breath, no flights over mountain peaks. Instead, it hides in the shadows, shrouded in mystery. The legend reached its peak in 1935 when a Russian photographer named Balkan claimed to capture a photo of the beast. The image caused a sensation across Europe, appearing in the Berlin Illustrate Zeitung. Again, pronunciation, folks. And sparking a frenzy of speculation. There is a reward currently that still stands to this day of 1,000 Reichsmarks offered to anyone who could capture and deliver the Tatzelwurm to science. Alas, no one ever succeeded. Today, a green wooden Tatzelwurm creates visitors at the gorge entrance, a playful nod to the legend that still captivates the imagination. The gorge is also a place of history and has weird connections. The Arschlucht also tells a story of human ingenuity. The construction of the walkways made the gorge accessible to the public, and the railway soon followed, linking the gorge to nearby Meiringen and even Reichenbach Falls, where Sir Arthur Conan Doyle famously sent Sherlock Holmes to his supposed death. It's just a short journey away. Modern visitors have access to the gorge from 2 entrances, each equipped with amenities like cafes and kiosks. There are thin, wooden walkways that are suspended above both sides of the gorge. The gorge is more than just a destination. It's an experience, a place where nature's raw power meets humanity's insatiable curiosity, a place where myths come alive and unknown lurks just beyond the shadows. So the next time you find yourself in Switzerland, take a walk to Arschlucht and stand in awe of the towering cliffs. Again, it is definitely a place where, dude, I saw pictures. It looks fucking phenomenal. It is. I don't doubt it. It is
Switzerland. Look
amazing.
Beautiful. So.
It has that super crystal blue-green water that just looks like a painting that goes through it. And apparently some of it looks like some of it either, it kind of reminds you of, clearly much cleaner, but it kind of reminds you of if you go past the bridge.
At Indigo?
The old Everett Road Cover Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Where some of the water comes out from the side, and then there's some land banks, and I don't know how deep the water is, but it says in some parts of the gorge, it's 200 feet deep.
Wow.
So
that's pretty deep. Right.
So, yeah, and it's just one of those things. And another thing that really kind of caught my interest, and as much attention as we give, intelligent haunts and residual haunts, the third main type of haunting is shadow people. And I feel I know we've mentioned them before, but I feel to an extent, they're probably one of the more popular, haunting types.
Oh, yeah.
And
everybody sees shadow people.
Right. So, yeah, that's my story.
Huh? All right. Well, the way you mentioned it in text, I thought it'd be a lot longer than that. So, cool, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said before the podcast started, Switzerland always been one of those travel places I wanted to go to just because it looks gorgeous.
Right.
And
bro, it's got the Alps,
It's one of those ones where it's when you picture serenity,
right.
You just want to stand there and be like, it's peaceful, it's quiet.
Forests and mountains, man. That's where my life's
right.
happy.
All right. Well, cool. I dig it. And nod to Switzerland on that one. Did you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
Sure, I got you.
Does that mean you're going next?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I actually decided to cover a story that I think everybody has heard of, but I'm not sure that everybody knows the actual origin of the story. So, my story is in Spanish, La Isla de las Muñecas, which is Island of the Dolls.
Yeah.
Gotta love this.
Josh Gates.
I knew about it way before he did it, but okay. So this particular island, actually, what's really funky is I could not find a name of what the island was called prior to it getting this moniker. It just simply is an island in the channels south of Mexico City. So
Admittedly, it's also a very small island.
It is.
So it may have been just
very
one of
small.
those ones that didn't actually have a name. It's just,
Yeah, it may not have. That's
one of
very,
those
very
islands in a river that just...
It's there.
right. So there was a man by the name of Don Julian Santana Barrera. Barrera was a very interesting man, and some say he probably was not completely mentally stable. At some point during his life, Barrera decided, quite literally out of nowhere, that he was going to simply up and leave his wife and his children. This was sometime in the mid-20th century, and he just simply grabbed his glad bag and walked away. No explanation given, no
goodbye, just peace out.
Just gone. He just grabbed his shit and left. And he meant to completely sequester himself on this island, which is on Tishula Lake. So he does so. His reasons for doing so are honestly hazy at best. Nobody really has any good answers as to why he did this. But a lot of people think that it became very, very clear very, very quickly that Barrera was not sound of mind.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very long after he relocated. He was walking on the little coast of his newly found island, and he was actually out looking for his baited fish traps, seeing if he had caught anything. And he unfortunately saw the body of a young girl. She was probably about 7 or 8 years old, and she had probably come off the mainland, but interestingly enough, nobody ever actually came after her body to claim her, but she had apparently fallen into the lake and had drowned. So he, of course, scooped her up out of the canal, and he buried her properly, like a good human being should. And a few days later, there was a little doll that came floating down the canal. Well, he, of course, assumed that this doll had to have belonged to this young girl, because where else would it have come from? So he fished the doll out of the canal, and he hung it up on a fence post in order to sort of appease the spirit of the little girl and sort of honor her memory, and this was her doll, whatnot.
Gotcha.
So he took the doll and he hung it up. And so at this point, the man, he sort of thought himself as the caretaker of this island, not necessarily the owner of it, despite the fact that he was the only one who resided on it. And for whatever reason, he decided that one doll was simply not enough to honor the memory of this little girl. So over the next 50 years, Barrera would do absolutely everything that he could, including scrounging through the trash, through the canals, taking vegetables from the garden that he grew and trading them off for dolls in the city, doing work, like a whole day's work for a doll for payment. And he took and just hung them all along, even ones that were not whole, were in various states of disrepair, headless, no torso, no arm, messy eyes, no leg. He didn't care. Even pieces of dolls, he would just hang there. And pretty soon, the island came out with, there's over 10,000 dolls just sort of chilling. Well, this obviously didn't sound like the actions of someone who was completely sane. So there were actually a whole lot of questions about whether or not the story was even true.
Right.
Because they never could prove that the little girl, that any young girl had drowned and been buried out there, because he was kind of crazy anyway. So many people,
allegedly,
right? Many people, including his own family, did not believe that he ever found a girl, and instead just either made it up or completely hallucinated the experience, or something like that. So it's not clear whether or not the little girl ever actually existed. But he did devote the entire rest of his life to her, keeping up the island, hanging the dolls, and creepiest of all, even to the end of his life, had clear ties to the story of this drowned child. So he passed away in 2001. His body was discovered drowned in the canal, right where he claims to have found the little girl drowned.
Eerie.
Uh-huh.
So suspicious.
Now, there's a little bit more to this story, which I found really interesting. So, in 2001, when he passed, it was actually right prior to him passing. His nephew, Barrera's nephew, had come to the island to help him out. Because obviously at this point he was like 80 years old, he didn't get around super well, and he needed some help tending to things, so his nephew came and would help him out. And while they were fishing in the canal, his nephew said that that Barrera was telling him these very crazy, wild stories about how there were mermaids in the canal and they were singing to him and calling for him to get into the water, and that they'd been there literally forever, ever since he first got to the island some 50 years prior to that. And he would leave the dolls not just to appease this, like the first doll originally was to appease the spirit of the little girl who drowned. But after that, it was, they were hung with talismans and as talismans to keep the mermaids at bay so that they wouldn't come onto the land and get him.
I mean, that's understandable.
Right. So the nephew, he got up and he briefly left his uncle's side and went to the hut and dropped off some fish and emptied the bucket. And he wasn't gone, he said, more than about 20-25 minutes. And by the time he got back, that's when he found Barrera lifeless, face down in the canal.
Death by mermaid.
Death by mermaid, potentially.
And
Since the island has become open to the public, you can go there now, and there's actually tours that go back and forth through there literally all the time, all hours of the day. And visitors will occasionally bring offerings, which are dolls, of course, in exchange for miracles or blessings. Some people will even go there and maintain the island, changing dolls' clothes and fixing dolls and, like touching up their paint or whatever as sort of a form of worship almost. Not at all certain how it became a place of worship. That's just weird. But a lot of people, not just paranormal investigators, claim that they have heard the dolls whispering back and forth to each other, whispering to visitors on the island, moving their arms, moving their heads, even like some of them like opening their eyes and making the little Suzy Cooey noise. Yeah, exactly. This story has been covered so many times it's ridiculous by every single paranormal group you can think of.
Especially every major one that does international stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry.
And this week.
Yep, I am super sick this week. So, this led me sort of down a rabbit hole. I started looking at things like mermaids and the stories about mermaids and the legends about mermaids, specifically in like the region of Mexico City and around the waterways where this is from. I didn't find anything. Literally nothing. So I said, okay, let's take this in a different direction. And I started looking into haunted dolls. There are so many haunted dolls. So many. So
Annabelle, that sailor one in Florida, like two off the top of my head.
The sailor one is called Robert. His name is Robert the doll. Robert, that's actually really interesting. Currently, he lives in Key West, Florida. He was created by the Steiff Company somewhere in the vicinity of 1904, and he was gifted to a little boy who lived in Key West, Florida, who then developed a very interesting relationship with the doll. And
Define.
it was constantly beside him, constantly with him everywhere he went. And he spoke to it, and the doll supposedly spoke back to him in full-on conversations, not like, you know, weird shit. I don't know. It's all weird, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
Anyway, unfortunately, Robert passed away at a pretty young age. He got sick. He passed away. He wasn't a super healthy boy to begin with. And when he passed away, the theory is that his spirit went into Robert because they were so close. So Robert somehow became this incredibly vengeful, horrible spirit of this little boy who was pretty pissed off that he wasn't alive anymore, basically. Mm-hmm. And now Robert is locked away. And if you do something that Robert doesn't like, he'll come after you. He'll get you. He'll hurt you. He causes sickness. He causes accidents. This doll has been, I mean, so many stories have been attributed to like very horrible ill luck and fate surrounding this doll. It's ridiculous. Another crazy one that I really wanted to talk about was not Annabelle, although she seems pretty cool. We've all heard a little bit about Annabelle.
Fancy.
Right. But there is another one called Letta the doll.
I've heard of it.
Letta looks like an old lady with brown hair and a kind of a mean face. She looks sort of scoldy almost. She's about 200 years old. She's a wooden doll, and her hair is actual human hair. Not from like somebody who died, but somebody who, you know, cut their hair and donated it to make the doll. So nothing crazy there. She was found in 1972 in an abandoned building in, get this, Wagga Wagga, Australia.
Okay.
Walton, this person named Walton was the original founder, the person who found the doll in this. Her name is Carrie Walton. She lives in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. She's the one that originally found the doll, and she named the doll the Letta Me Out because
Fair.
of its supposedly supernatural characteristics. That's how it became known as Letta Me Out. The claims are that people have seen the doll move literally right in front of them, like not just sort of move, but like move the whole top of its body or an entire arm or turn its head and look at you. There's also been visible scuff marks left around the house from this doll's plastic shoes on the floor. Like she's just up walking around, you know.
Ruminating on the floor.
Or, yeah, you know. Walton has done a lot of different television interviews, and Letta has accompanied him onto the television. And you can watch a video about Letta if you like on YouTube, a little tiny video called The Creepiest Dolls That Will Haunt Your Sleep Forever. They don't know much about Letta, don't know where she came from, don't know why she's haunted, but apparently she's pretty creepy.
Well, you get the name Let Me Out.
Right.
You're either going to be really funny or really scary.
Right. And she lives in Australia. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, there's so many other dolls that I could have covered, but I really loved the Let Me Out.
That was pretty stellar.
Yeah.
Also, just a side note, I mean, you might not have found much in Mexico, but I personally have heard plenty of stories, plenty of them even in the U.S., regarding like native folklore and lakes that had mermaids in them. Not oceans or seas, but like literally lakes.
Well, yeah, I covered one of the podcasts with that.
But I was specifically looking at that lake.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would be interested if like there were any legends in like the Incan tribes and shit that, you know, whatever natives they had down in Mexico at the time, as opposed to like
right, yeah,
modern day people.
Well, you don't really hear a lot of modern tales about mermaids anymore. Kind of died out with the shipping, I guess. I don't know. I don't really talk to a lot of sailors, so.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, that's my story.
Okay.
I kept it short and sweet.
Right. I got you. Mine's kind of similar in the short and sweet aspect, but I found it intriguing. One, because it's literally in your guys' backyard.
Sweet.
Two, it's covered by the Akron Beacon Journal, it's a newspaper here in Ohio, specifically in the Akron, Cleveland area.
Love it.
It's one of the biggest newspapers in the city. And the journalist, who I will give him credit here, Mark, which is funny because it's kind of a former basketball player, but it's not him. Mark Price found this article from 1914 from Barberton, Ohio. And he's kind of recanting it because it was Halloween at the time that he found it. So he's like, cool, I got a little thing here. And it's about the Ohio and Erie Canal. So, sorry. Everybody's heard tales of like the maritime haunted vessels like the Flying Dutchman, the Octavius, the Mary Celeste, the SS Valencia, and the RMS Mary. Everybody's heard of those.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of a haunted canal boat?
I have, but only because I'm a paranormal investigator.
And it's my own backyard.
Yeah.
So you guys have heard of this one?
Maybe. I don't remember where, to be honest with you, but I do remember hearing a story about it.
So it happened in Barberton in 1914. It was kind of a bizarre episode, but train dispatcher Thomas Kearney reported seeing a phenomenon while working on the Pennsylvania Railroad Depot, formerly the Cleveland, Akron, and Columbus Railroad Station of Tuscarawas. I always have trouble saying that name.
Tuscarawas.
The brick structure stood about 50 feet from the canal. So that's where it happened at. So this story you guys heard of before? Because if not,
Maybe.
that's cool.
No, actually, I don't think I've heard this one specifically, but I have heard of haunted canal boats.
Yeah. Okay. Kenny said something seemed to materialize above the hulk of the General Garfield, an abandoned canal boat that had been docked since 1893, when its owner skipped town over unpaid bills. So it happened all the way back then. The vessel, which had hauled lumber and coal, was named James R. Garfield after the U.S. President Civil War general because he was from Cuyahoga County and worked on the canal as a boy. So they named him.
Born in Orange, Ohio.
Yeah. Said, this is Kenny talking. One day about a week ago, I heard a shriek, fear-inspiring in its weirdness. Kenny told the Akron Press from the article published on January 9th, 1914. It came from the direction of the canal boat. A train was coming around the bend and then tracks of a couple hundred feet away. Above the ringing of the bell, the hiss of the escaping steam, and the grinding of brakes sounding the shrieks, I confess I was frightened.
Oh, shit. No, I might actually heard this story from Ken.
Okay, so he started at the canal boat. Suddenly, the shriek stopped, and out of the water slowly emerged a phosphorescent figure glowing in the darkness. And this is how you can tell how old it was. He said the goose flesh ran all over me. Goosebumps.
Good pimples.
Yeah, but they called it goose flesh back then. So the figure rose until it attained an almost majestic height, as I could only see an outline, and whatever it was I saw seemed transparent. It raised a long finger, leveled it directly at the oncoming train. As the train headlights stabbed the darkness over the canal, the figure vanished like a falling mist. But excuse me. But people waiting at the station told me they saw the same thing. So the conductor saw it, the people at the station saw it. So oddly enough, Kenny started kind of talking about this, and it got the town talking. So mind you, the Erie Canal is literally, 3 streets down?
Yeah.
It's right over there.
Yeah. Granted, it may not be on the right spot, but it's still literally your backyard.
Right.
So this is one reason why I chose that story is because it's literally right there.
So if I am correct, that particular boat, is there not a museum for like the Garfield Museum or something like that? And that's where the Cuyahoga River lets out into Lake Erie?
I don't know.
I'm not sure about that. The article doesn't cover that. But
Oh.
I know where. Sorry, I was taking a drink, guys. So once Kenny started talking about this, Barberton residents said the old boat has served as a home for a woman who died on the vessel in about 1908. She was, pardon the expression, that's how they talk back then. She was a queer creature, to be sure. One neighbor recalled. Seldom talked to anyone. In the fall, she would go into the cabin of the boat, and after closing the shutters, would remain inside throughout the winter, just as a bear hibernates.
I feel
As
like
the train
that.
left the station about 8:48, someone cried out, "Here it is." Something seemed to take shape in the canal. Women turned and ran into the station and covered their faces. Others dreaded the sight, yet curious to see, timidly stood in the station doorway and stared. Spectators reported of a white form arose slowly over the boathouse, water dripping from it, a curious light shone from it, and from a great height a gaunt figure pointed at the crowd. The following night, a Saturday, more than 15,000 people crowded the station and filled both sides of the canal. Some dared to climb on the boat, peek inside. A carnival atmosphere prevailed as residents from Akron, Barberton, Kenmore, and Wadsworth converged on the site. Many remained past midnight. Now, mind you, these are all places that we actually frequent.
Right.
I grew up in Wadsworth, yeah.
However, there was no sighting that evening, and hundreds returned Sunday night, and some spectators reported seeing the specter. Now, with that, kind of everybody still came, saw, tried to see it and all that, and they said they off nights they would see it, some nights it weren't, but it always happened when the train came. So, this is where the story gets mildly entertaining.
Okay.
And as soon as I read on, you'll kind of get why I say mildly entertaining. Residents offered many theories ranging from atmospheric conditions to mass hallucinations to optical illusions to practical jokers. Someone wondered if a mad hypnotist had mesmerized the onlookers. Others believed that the apparition was the works of the devil. Of course, you know. And then a Barberton mayor, A.M. Bird, promised an investigation. This is how old it is because the Barberton mayor.
The mayor's like, we're going ghost hunting.
Yes. But he was quoted as saying, I don't believe in ghosts myself, but so many people let me restart. I don't believe in ghosts myself, but so many people have unquestioned veracity have reported seeing a figure rise from the canal that I'm going down there tonight to see it for myself. That was directly from the mayor. So it's like, all right, now the mayor's involved. Sweet.
Okay. So yeah, you can't get into the Akron Beacon Journal articles online, unfortunately, unless you subscribe.
Hence why I subscribed.
Nice. But yeah, that's pretty much all. The headline that I read said Barberton residents reported sightings of ghosts.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fucking cool. We're going down there, boys.
Yeah. Patrolman Jack Holland got caught playing dead one night. He wrapped himself up in sheets and hid in the boat's cabin, but a group of schoolboys discovered the ruse. The cops swore that he had nothing to do with the previous ghost sightings and merely wanted to trick reporters. The Reverend Lorenzo Oles, pastor of First Spiritualist Church in Akron, arrived at the canal with a declaration of 6 men. At first, there was nothing to see, but Oles began to sense something. This is where it gets weird.
You've got my attention.
Will you name that church for me one more time?
The First Spiritualist Church in Akron. I doubt it's there anymore. Or it may become the Akron Baptist Temple. I don't know. But the Reverend said, stand back, boys. I feel the force. That part cracked me up. I was like, really? Obi-Wan Kenobi's there.
It's still there. It's in Kent.
Okay. He said he detected a feminine presence in the doorway of the cabin. There I could see the outline of a woman, Oles later wrote. Her hands were planted firmly against the sides of the frame. She appeared to be in night clothing. He reported having a vision of a robber shooting the woman to death and fleeing with her cash. And this is him directly, there's a spirit in the old canal boat in Barberton. Call it a ghost if you will. To me, it's an impression from a spirit world taking visible form to be sure and more. A spiritual visitation which, to one trained in that line, comes not only to the eye and mind, but to the body as well. Not only could it be seen, it could be felt. That's a reverend saying that.
That's pretty impressive. Like,
yeah. Now, here's where it gets hilarious.
Okay.
If you think 1914, where did you get the bulk of your information in 1914? If you were just Joe Blow off the street and you wanted to find out some information about somebody, where did you go? They got the reputation nowadays of it. You go to the frickin' Bark. You go to the
That's fair.
True.
Yeah. He's the guy that hears all the stories, right?
So, Tuscarawas Avenue saloon keeper Ed Curran, who owned a boathouse 200 yards from the canal boat, said, and I quote, I don't believe in mumbo jumbo. But he said he witnessed the ghostly presence plenty of times. In fact, there was a plausible explanation. This is coming from a bartender. It must be 2 years now since I first saw the ghost. At the time, I didn't call it a ghost, nor did anybody else that I know of. I merely remarked that it looked to me as though a human from Human form rose from the boat. I spoke to it dozens of times. Again, this is a bartender. It always rose as the train passed. While it hovered in the air, there were often weird creakings and groanings. They have been called the shrieks by the ghost by some who have seen it since. Here's what the ghost is. When a train passes, the smoke from its stack invariably trails along the surface of the canal and the ground at this point. The smoke and the vapor filled the old boat and kept rising from the window of the cabin on the far side of the boat for several minutes after the train's pass. The smoke very often assumed a form like that of a man or a woman. Anybody the least bit scary could imagine a spectral finger shrieking meanwhile as the timbers of the old boat groaned while the craft swung in the canal. So he's pretty much saying...
Debunked.
Yeah, it was the barkeep debunked the ghost.
The old drunk guy is like,
Yeah.
You guys are nuts.
Yeah. So here's the sad part. Ghost sightings subsided that winter in Bourbon. Over time, the matter faded from memory. Witnesses are all gone now. The boat is gone, too. So the depot, which was torn down in the 1940s. But the canal was still there, so take a look if you dare.
I will.
So
I will go.
there's many reasons why I saw that story, and I clicked on it by accident. Because I was looking at something else. I went to click on it. You know how you get fat-fingered and you click on the wrong thing?
Right.
And then it came up like, hey, subscribe to That Can Be Good Journal. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So click back and I'm like, wait a minute. I kind of want to read that story. Luckily, the subscription was 99 cents.
Right.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, or not 99 cents, 10 cents. I'm sorry. All right, cool. I can do that. 10 cents ain't no bother to me.
So, because I can, I did what I do and I started Googling some shit. Turns out this particular establishment, this spiritual establishment, I'm not going to say its name too many times because I don't want to draw negative attention. So there are, oh my gosh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, no, I'm sorry, 6 and a past female reverends.
That's odd.
Yep.
Okay.
And there is one male reverend who is also Hindu.
Well, spiritualist. Yeah.
And that's the exact point. So all of these folks have some sort of certificates. Now this one in particular, I went ahead and picked out the man because he has the most. Minister credential status since May of 1977, certified as a medium and spiritual counselor through the Arthur Ford International Academy of Mediumship.
What?
Certified as a spiritual healer, advanced channeling, which includes alternative methods of healing, trance healing, spirit doctors, past life regression, therapy, and lotus healing, and he does soul life readings. Listed on the International Registry of Spiritual Healers, certified as a sound and color healing practitioner, including integrative medical therapies with studies in the metaphysical mysteries of sound and color with the study of application of chromotherapy, which is healing with color. Certified Akasha sensitive to conduct Akasha angel readings. Completed studies in sacred healing, which develops heart consciousness to clairvoyantly read the Akashic records of the heart. Certified as a master metaphysician. Completed advanced studies, mysteries of the soul, logos, and relationship dynamics, the metaphysical mysteries of male-female healing at Delphi University. Certified in inner sanctuary training, certified in Yandi's inner light facilitator to conduct healing sessions for inner child rescue and adult transformation and integration.
So this guy got bored very easily.
Certified as an initiate in the Holy Order of the Dove, and former years focused on meditation combined with ancient science of soul travel and the ascended masters.
So you got quite an extensive resume.
Yes, he does. And all of the women,
Are they all like metaphysically?
they're all certified mediums and metaphysical.
Well, that's what struck me as odd in the story when he said that, oh, no, I thought it was ghosts, because for a reverend to say that, normally they're pardon the expression, normally they're the ones like, that's the devil.
Right.
They do that kind of thing. So for a reverend, it's like, no, this is spirit coming from the other side. I'm like, wait, what?
Spiritualist church starts to make sense now.
Right,
Got
right.
it.
And then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a spiritualist church. Okay.
So this is some interesting shit.
Yeah.
I've never heard of quite the thing.
So, no, I just thought the article was cool as hell. And he did it, and it was written in 2024. So he recanted the actual thing itself for Halloween time. So it was literally, well, that was last year. But yeah, I was like, that's actually really freaking cool. That is right in your guys' backyard. Like
Mhm.
literally stone's throw away. I'm not even joking. I can throw a football and hit the canal from here.
It's true.
Yeah, it's for soccer.
I think the most entertaining part of that whole story to me, like you coined, was the barkeep debunking it. I'm like, all right.
Well, it makes sense because back then, barkeep was like the resident therapist.
Yeah. Go gadget. The guy just using logic to puzzle this out.
and that's what old barkeeps were, and some of them are still holding true to that today. You go in there, and that's your buddy. That's the guy that hears all the rumors about town. They know everything about Sally Sue, Jim, Bob. They know everything up and down the list. And for any bartenders that are listening to me, you know I'm telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So what I will say, though, on the topic of like the canal and things like that, is being a resident of the place and clearly it being in my backyard, but also hunting throughout the valley and this place. We've gone through most of both canals, right? Erie and the Ohio Canal. The only downside to doing investigations that revolve around the correct canal nowadays is that a lot of it's dried up. It's not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's very. It's patchy now. Like there's not one giant canal that goes through. You know, I believe the one to the west is still a pretty big deal and for the most part kind of maintained.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And through a lot of the cities, but like through our cities and stuff, they've let most of the canal dry up. It's just not the same anymore. So it's kind of hard to like pinpoint some of these places.
Right.
Especially like once you get into the areas where most of it's dried up and it hadn't been taken care of. And there, to be fair, there's places along, like even when we go up to the valley where like, if you didn't know it was a canal that was there, you'd be like, okay, it's just another ravine. You know?
Yeah, it's like a little ditch or something.
Yeah. No, it's a little crick.
But yeah, it's cool to have that history and whatnot. And no, that was not the one I've heard of. I've literally heard of like a ghost canal boat. And I think this one was down closer to like the Zor Village area, who does shit all Halloween, every Halloween. It's literally, I want to say, one of the oldest established villages in Ohio, period. It's an old German village, and they've still got all the old buildings up. Most of the town is supposedly haunted. You can stay at the haunted tavern and shit down there.
Right.
Super cool place.
That's actually really cool because I was actually kind of worried that I know you guys are paranormal investigators, and when you move to a town and you guys just moved to Barberton, what, like 8 years ago, something like that?
This is our 9th year. This will be our 9th year.
So you probably already investigated half the stuff that's around here, or at least known about it, because that's what you guys do.
I would say known about
Actually-
it, but we haven't really touched Barberton itself very much, with the exception of the well. We went over there,
We did go to the well.
Yeah.
and that's what the hell was
OC Barber.
the OC Barber well, because supposedly that place was on. I went over there. It's in a guy's backyard in like a subdivision now. It's not even.
Yeah, and I mean,
It's not the least bit creepy. It's a little bit cold. Like you can almost feel like where like an underground spring should be where the well was.
yeah.
Right.
But other than that, no.
And what's really unfortunate about it is that there's literally a housing development that over the last 20 years has grown up into that area. So you have to like literally walk through one guy's side yard to get back to this well that I think is still technically considered like park property, if you will.
Yeah.
But you have to go through this man's subdivided yard to get to it.
It's like end of a cul-de-sac shit.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, like it's a really nice area in Barberton. Like the roads are well maintained, the houses are really nice, but you know,
It's not a place you can investigate.
but in our business, it erased history to put up a nice subdivision. You know?
Right.
Yeah, you can't. It's not like you can go down there in the middle of the night with your flashlights and stuff because you're literally in people's backyards.
No, but knowing that I actually found a story that neither one of you knew about, I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
I will also pat you on the back. That's a good one.
But no, like Like it had multiple levels in that story. The Reverend, the barkeep, the whole thing, like in the backyard, there was a whole mix of gamuts. So I was like, no, I'm doing this.
It's totally hilarious because during your story, right? Like when you started talking about like the Reverend sensed this presence of this woman and she was shot and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I wonder if it was somebody that came off the train, right? Like maybe that's why she only shows up when the train shows up.
Right.
And leave it to the bartender to be like, nah, you're wrong.
See, I'm not even sure if that debunks it because like, it makes sense. I get it. But.
And that it only glows because of the train light, probably.
Yeah. And we've all seen smoke come out, and yeah, train smoke is a little bit different. It's a little bit thicker and all that. But I'm sorry, you can clearly see it's not like an up and down figure. It's a trail of smoke.
Right.
Not said it got trapped in the cabin and then came out the window.
Right.
Which would make it.
I mean, that makes it make more sense.
Here's the thing, though. It would have a long trail instead of just like a short figure.
Well,
so
you're right,
again,
but it also
debating something that happened in 1914. So.
You're right, but also let me touch on my famous fucking irritation in life. It also probably has a whole lot to do with matrixing, right? Cool. I saw a shape of smoke that's smaller than normal come out of a back window that I didn't see. But my brain says that's a person.
Here's the thing. In the actual story, it said it came out the front of the boat, not the back. So.
Well, yeah, because originally what you had read was that it came out of the water. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like whatever, you know?
Right.
It's fun to hypothesize and theorize about this shit. And, like, trust me when I say that, like, we'd be over there tomorrow if this shit was still there to go look at.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I'll be hitting it up after work.
Yeah.
But again, to the audience out there, like, if you're going to go do this shit, be the first one to debunk it. Don't be the first one to be like, it's definitely a ghost. Then you sound like one of those kooks on TV that, you know.
No, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's some times where, don't get me wrong, I'm all for debunking, all for it, because you have to, not to quote Sherlock Holmes, but you have to get rid of all the evidence to believe it to find out the, you know, that old saying. I screwed it up, but you know.
Right.
Anyway,
but there's sometimes you see it and you're like, I can't find anything to debunk that.
Mm-hmm.
No,
so what I saw is what I saw.
Totally true. You know, if it were there and we went out there and it came out of the water, right? And not like by the boat, but like out of the water, like that's cool. But my first train of thought is like, okay, why does it only show up when the train goes by?
Right.
So like, if, as in this case, the barkeep could logic it to something to do with the train, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe his story holds credence. Like,
I mean,
but again,
it's credence all of it.
But again, there's no way for us to investigate this to find out.
Yeah,
not anymore.
But the funny part to me was, you know, that barkeep had to hear a lot of that shit to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
You guys shut
I'm tired of you guys talking about this. I've seen a bartender do that. They're like, I'm tired of hearing about this. Stop talking about it. Here's the reason why.
Right. It's funny how afterwards it all just dies down. People are like, oh, well, go ahead, Bob the barkeep. Take all the fun out of it.
Right? But yeah, that was my story. I thought it was a cool, fun one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
You know, the stories had to get real bad if he was like, I'm going to make sure patrons don't come here anymore because
for that,
I don't want the money anymore. It's not that important. All right.
Right. It's
you guys are idiots.
I'm just done hearing about
Listen,
this
I'm
shit.
serving cheap spirits down here and you guys are starting to annoy me. Like, but yeah, that's my story and I'm good.
A couple of good stories, then.
Yeah.
I like it. Sometimes I just like to go back to the spooky. Spooky's fun.
Like I said, I found this one by accident because I thought I had my story originally. And I was just like, just let me see if I can find a little bit more on it, fine tune it and all that. And then I clicked on that one by accident. I'm like, wait, that one's a lot cooler.
That happens too.
Yeah.
Do we have any sort of a guiding light for where we want to go next week?
I don't know, Germany, do we?
Come on, Germany.
I have no idea. I didn't. Listen, I didn't plan on this week except for spooky.
No, I think we should do them the same thing. Just find
Just go with something.
story.
Just another spooky
story.
ghost story.
Yep.
Just have.
I don't think we need a rhyme or reason. I think we need to go back to our bread and butter.
Yep.
Like
I think we
this
just
what
roll
we
with
started for.
spooky ghost stories for a while, and then like we'll leave our round tables to round tables.
Literally the opening sentence. Spooky stories from the web.
Do you have a location?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't need one.
She's like,
I have a location every time I look up where a random new viewer is from.
I feel that. I feel that.
she's like, Mr. DeVille, do I have a direction here?
It's short answer, no.
All right. All right. Well, and I can do what I'm going to do. I love it.
Like you wouldn't anyways.
I mean, that's probably.
She's like, I already had a plan. It doesn't matter. I'm just glad you said no.
Well, why did you just say it?
Yeah, I know. We're fabulous that way. But yeah, guys and girls, I don't know about y'all, but I mean, we are, God, we're so close to a year, aren't we?
We're past a year. We're almost 2 years now.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Holy
I want to
shit.
say April would be our 2-year mark.
Apparently not here. I don't know.
We'll have to do a big show in April for our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Oh, yep. That's when we'll launch the YouTube.
Yeah,
I dig
maybe
it.
we'll YouTube stream it. We'll do our first stream attempt. I'll start practicing for that shit.
I dig
Yeah,
it. I
right.
dig it.
I'll see if I can get some equipment that I can actually do.
Well, we'll figure it out.
And as always, we'll record an audio format too, so that
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
have
Those of
there.
you who are not have access to YouTube at that point in time,
Or
can
just
actually
don't
still
feel
listen
like
to us.
staring at my ugly mug, you know. But yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love you guys so much for giving us your ear.
no,
But
Yeah.
for tonight, I'm going to just let you know that you can find us at No Lights Paranormal on Facebook, No Lights Paranormal at gmail.com. If you want to like write us a message or just say anything, send us your photos, send us your videos, send us your EVPs. We'd love to have a peek at them and give you our opinions, and we'll give you honest opinions. We're not going to bullshit you. You can also hook up with us on X at No Lights Para. That's Para. No Lights Paranormal. We're on LinkedIn. You are very welcome to say hello there. I have tons and tons of people.
Mr. Musk.
Right. What's up, Elon? I love that band, by the way. Or go to my YouTube channel that I set up, please, and give me a whole lot of looks at the videos that we have uploaded. I've got some audio up there as well, some EVPs and some uncut, unedited videos from our investigations that you can look at and tell me if you see anything fun from our investigations.
Besides us being dumb.
That too. Or getting scared of bats and running for their lives. Because I'm sure some of that's on there.
Hey, it was fun. All right.
Yeah, that one was good.
I don't think that one was on there because that was just a live that I was doing on Facebook. So
No, that happened before that when we were first just setting up the equipment. So
I love it. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate you.
yes.
yep, we love you. We had a great time. We had great stories this week. We'll see you again next week. Don't fuck with the Baba Yaga.
You talk to the bartender about it.